comfortable, I'm right here to hear all the good news you've got.
Yo, what's up, man? Alright, so we're gonna do today, you guys, some Chat GPT adventures, conversations, show going on over here. Um, so the goal is we're gonna do some Midrash Rabba today. We're gonna learn this cool piece of text with Chat GPT voice. Really cool. Hopefully, they will keep this upgraded voice. Um, it says it retires at September 9th, but hopefully they'll keep it on forever because this stuff is amazing. You guys are gonna see. Check it out. All right, yo, ChatGPT. All right. רבי הושעיה רבה פתח, ואהיה אצלו המון, ואהיה שעשועים יום יום. המון פדגוג, המון מכוסה, המון מוצנע, ואית דאמר המון רבתה. Okay, so what does that mean? Just translate word by word. Go.
Absolutely. Let's dive into it. So the passage is from Midrash Rabba, and it goes, Rabbi Hoshaya open with the verse, Va'ehiyet Slomon, Va'heya Shashuim Yom Yom. Now that phrase can be broken down basically as I was with him as an Amon, and I was his delight day by day. Now, the Midrash plays with the word amon. It gives a few interpretations. It says amon is like a pedagogue, a caretaker, a tutor. It can mean something hidden or covered, and some say it means a great artisan. So the Midrash is basically unpacking layers of meaning in that one word. In short, it's saying I was like a nurturer, I was hidden, I was something treasured, and so on. It's all about how the divine wisdom is portrayed. So there you go. We just broke it down word by word.
All right. What does it mean? Amon padgog, amon mechuse, amon mutzna, ve'it da'amar, amon rabata.
Sure, let's break those down. So the Midrash is giving a bunch of meanings for the word amon. Amon pedagogue basically means like a pedagogue, a tutor, someone who guides and teaches. Amon mechuse means something hidden or covered. Amon mutzna is something concealed or stored away. And then there's another opinion that Amon rabata means a great craftsman or master creator. So in other words, each phrase is giving a different angle of that word amon, showing it can mean a teacher, something hidden, something treasured, or a great artisan. It's just the Midrash's way of layering on different interpretations.
What does it mean? Amon rabata.
Yeah, so Amon Rabata is basically interpreted as a great or master craftsman. The idea here is that the Midrash is saying this word Amon can also be understood as referring to someone who skillfully crafts or shapes things, basically like a master artisan who knows what they're doing at the highest level. So it's just one more layer of meaning that the Midrash gives to show how rich the term is.
All right. Amon padgog heich ma de'at amar. Berashit במדמר יוד א' יוד בייס כאשר יסע האומן את היונק. Okay, so what does this phrase mean? Excuse me. What does it mean though?
Sure. So that phrase is basically drawing a comparison. When it says amon pedagogue, it's linking the word amon to a pedagogue, like
What
a
does it mean?
guardian or caretaker.
What does it mean? Hey achma de'at amar.
Absolutely. So Hechmadat Tamar is basically an Aramaic phrase that means as it is said or as it is stated. It's like when the Midrash is bringing in a proof text or an example from somewhere else, it's saying, just like it says over there. So a little phrase to introduce a supporting quote or reference.
All right. So how is this proof though?
Yeah, great question. When the Midrash uses Haif Madat Tamar, it's kind of like it's saying, hey, here's a reference from another place in Scripture that supports what we're saying. So in this case, it's drawing a parallel to that verse in Bamidbar, Numbers, which talks about a caretaker carrying a nursing child. It's basically saying, see, just like over there, use a similar idea, we can apply it here. So it's proof in the sense of a textual parallel, kind of connecting the dots with another piece of text to back up the interpretation.
So who was the caretaker for who? Who was like the teacher for who?
Yeah, absolutely. So in that reference from Bamidbar, it's actually Moses who's being compared to a caretaker or a nurse. The verse describes Moses carrying the people of Israel like a caregiver carries a nursing child. And the Midrash uses that imagery to explain the word amon in the sense of a pedagogue or a guide. So basically it's saying that just as Moses was like a
So what about the verse in Mishle? Vayheyetz lo amon vayheyesha shuim yom yom. What is that referring to?
Yeah, great point. So that verse from Mishlei or Proverbs where it says "Vaheyet slomon, vaheyesh ashuim yom yom" is traditionally understood in a midrashic sense to be wisdom itself speaking. It's often seen as wisdom personified, saying that she was with God like a trusted companion or artisan when the world was being created, and she was like a source of delight day by day. So in essence, that verse is referring to the idea that wisdom was like an intimate, playful, and masterful presence alongside the creator, kind of like a cherished artisan or a beloved child during the creation process.
Interesting. Amon mechuse heach ma de'at amar. This is like as you say, eka ha'emunim alai tola vegomer. Okay, so how is that proof though?
Absolutely. So in this case, when the Midrash says Amon Mechuse and then uses the phrase Heik Madat Tamar, it's again bringing in a proof text from elsewhere to support that interpretation. So the verse is referencing Eka Ha'emunim Alai Tola is basically like saying, where those who are entrusted are covered over me. It's using a poetic image to show that this idea of being hidden or covered is like something that's sheltered or protected. So the proof is kind of about drawing a parallel. Just like in that other verse, there's an idea of being covered or hidden. The Midrash is saying we can understand Amon in a similar way here. It's all about connecting the dots between text to back up the interpretation.
What does it mean ha'emunim alei tolado?
Yeah, absolutely. So ha'emunim alai tola is a phrase that can be understood as those who are entrusted or who have faith are placed upon me, or those who are sheltered upon me. It's kind of a poetic way of saying that there are those who rely on me or are under my
What does it
care.
mean
And in the
What does it mean tolado?
Sure. So the word tola in that context is kind of like saying placed or laid upon. It's basically indicating that someone is entrusted or put in a position of reliance on someone else. So when it says ha'emunim alai tola, it's like saying those who have faith or are entrusted or placed upon me, meaning they depend on me or they are under my care. It's just a poetic way of expressing that idea of being responsible for or sheltering others.
So the phrase is, the full phrase is ha'ochlim lema'adanim nashmu bachutzot ha'emunim alei tol'ah chibku ash ashpatot.
Exactly, you got it. So the full phrase is painting this kind of vivid picture. It's saying something like, those who used to eat delicacies are now left desolate in the streets. Those who were once entrusted or sheltered, like we talked about, are now embracing the ash heaps or the trash heaps. In other words, it's using this phrase to show a contrast.
Tola is like a worm, no?
Yeah, exactly. You're spot on. Tola
So how is that proof
can
for
actually
what?
mean a
Yo
worm
yo
in
yo
Hebrew.
yo yo yo. So how is that proof for what it says? Amon mechuse. How is that proof where it says kasher amon? It says heach man de antmar amon mechuse heach ma de at amar ha'emunim alei tol'ah. How's that proof? How's that verse proof for Amon Mechuse? That the fact that the wisdom was like an Amon Mechuse to a god.
Yeah, I get what you're asking. So basically, the Midrash is using that phrase, "Emonim alai tola," where tola can mean something small or hidden, like a worm, to reinforce the idea that amon mechuse means something hidden or covered. In other words, it's kind of a poetic proof. It's saying, look, just as this verse talks about something entrusted or small and hidden, we can understand amon as something that was hidden or sheltered with God. So it's not a literal proof, but more of a textual or thematic link. The Midrash loves to do that, connecting verses to show that one idea sheds light on another. So amon mechuse.
So what was this? What's this whole thing that in Lamentations in Eka, it says that Hayamunim they became to who? Alei Tola. To who's Alei? To Jeremiah, the one writing Lamentations, the one who's writing the Eka, or what? And how's that? How if so, then how is that a good proof for wisdom being an Amon Mechuseh?
Yeah, I see where you're going with that. So in Lamentations or Echa, when it says that those who were trusted or had faith became alai tola, it's really kind of a poetic lament. It's describing how the people who were once in a position of trust or honor are now in a lowly or humble state. In that context, Eli means upon me, and it's Jeremiah, traditionally considered the author of Lamentations, speaking in this mournful tone. He's saying that the people who once depended on him or were in a noble position are now humbled. So how does that connect back to the Midrash? Well, the Midrash is sort of using that idea thematically. It's taking that imagery of something once hidden or trusted and showing that Amon Mechuseh can be understood in a similar way. It's not a direct one-to-one proof, but more of a poetic link. Just as in Eicha, people who were once in a certain...
So how is it proof for Amon Mechuseh?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. So the Midrash isn't using it as a strict proof like we think of in a logical argument. It's more of a thematic or poetic association. Basically, they're saying, look, in Lamentations, we have this imagery of people who were once trusted or hidden being brought low, and that shows a layer of meaning for the word Amon. In other words, just as something or someone could be hidden or sheltered, Amon Mechuseh in the Midrash is like wisdom being hidden or sheltered with God. It's really a kind of literary proof rather than a hard logical one. The Midrash loves to make those connections to enrich the meaning of the text.
Interesting. All right. Amon mutzna. He'ach ma da'at amar vayhi omen et hadasa. Hadasa. Okay, so what does that mean? Vayhi omen et hadasa. How is that proof for Amon mutzna?
Absolutely. Let's break that down. So, Amon Mutna means something like hidden or concealed. And the Midrash brings this phrase, Vahion and Hadassah, from the book of Esther, where it talks about Mordechai raising or bringing up Hadassah, which is Esther's Hebrew name. Now, the proof here is more thematic again. The Midrash is saying, just like Mordechai hiddenly or privately raised Esther, he took care of her quietly and concealed her identity. So too, Amon Mutzna is about something being nurtured or raised in a hidden or protected way. In other words, the Midrash is using the story of Esther being secretly brought up by Mordechai to illustrate what it means for wisdom to be Amon Mutzna, something hidden away and carefully protected. It's all about that idea of something being quietly fostered or kept under wraps.
Vayehi omen et hadasa. What does it mean, omen, though?
Absolutely. So omen in that phrase, Vahi omen et Hadassah,
What does it mean?
basically means someone who raises or nurtures. It's like a guardian, a foster.
And so you're saying that she was hidden. That's why he uses it as a proof.
Exactly, you got it. The Midrash is basically making that connection that because Esther or Hadassah was raised in this kind of hidden, protected way by Mordechai, she was concealed, her identity was kept secret. That's used as a thematic proof for the idea of a mom what's not. In other words, just like Esther was hidden and nurtured.
Interesting. All right. He'ach ma de'at amar vayhi omen rabata kama de tema hatev'i mino amon umetarguminan ha'at tavat me'alexandria rabata deyatva bein naharota. So what is this whole thing talking about now?
Absolutely. Let's unpack that. So this is kind of another layer the Midrash is adding. It's saying, Hey Tamar, basically as it is said, and then it brings in this reference to Amon Rabata, which you can think of as a great fosterer or a great nurturer. And then it compares it to something like the well at Alexandria the Great that sits between the rivers. So what's that about?
What does it mean? What does it mean? Kama de tema.
Yeah, of course. So Kema is an Aramaic phrase that basically means as you would say or as one would say. It's kind of like a phrase introducing an example.
Hatet vi mino amon. So what is that part?
Yeah, absolutely. So that part, Hatebi bino amon, is basically saying bring forth or produce from it an amon. In other words, it's like saying draw up the meaning of amon from this example. So the Midrash is just kind of layering these phrases to say, just as you would say or bring forth this meaning, we understand amon in this way too. It's all about using example.
Amon. So bring for me a type of amon, like produce.
Exactly, you got it. So it's like the Midrash is saying, hey, bring me...
Umetargeminan, and we translate it, ha'at tava'a me'al Alexandria Rabata deyatva bein parota. So how would you translate that then?
Absolutely. So that bit is basically saying, and we translate it as the great ring from Alexandria that sits between the rivers. In other words, they're using this image of something from Alexandria the Great, this sort of notable or significant object placed between rivers, to give a metaphor or a visual comparison. So the whole thing is just another colorful way the Midrash is building out the meaning of a mon by saying, let's translate it like this interesting, well known thing that's set in a special place, and that helps explain the idea.
Okay, דבר אחר. המון אומן. התורה אומרת, אני הייתי כלי אומנותו של הקדוש ברוך הוא, בנוהג שבעולם מלך בשר ודם בונה פלטין. אינו בונה אותה מדעת עצמו, אלא מדעת אומן. והאומן אינו בונה אותה מדעת עצמו, אלא דפתראות וכסאות יש לו לדעת, האח הוא עושה חדרים, האח הוא עושה פשפשין.
Absolutely. Let's dive into that. So this Davar hair section, which means another explanation, is basically giving a different angle on the word amon by comparing it to an uman, which is a craftsman or an artisan. So the Midrash is saying the Torah is like the tool of the graph of the Holy One, blessed be He, and it uses this analogy. Just like when a human king builds a palace, he doesn't do it out of his own knowledge alone, he relies on the knowledge of a craftsman. And the craftsman, in turn, doesn't just do it from his own head. He has these blueprints and plans to show him how to make the rooms and all the little niches. So the idea is that a mon here is like the artisan's craft, something carefully defined and guided. And in this analogy, the Torah is that guiding blueprint, and God is using it like an artisan uses a plan. So it's just another beautiful metaphor the Midrash is using to say that a mon can also mean this kind of artisan-like wisdom, carefully crafting the world with the Torah as the blueprint.
Interesting. All right, man. Shkoyach. You guys, as you see, we got some cool.
Absolutely. It's a really cool and rich metaphor.
We got some cool conversations over here, and you could literally talk with the model, and it will translate for you. Really good translation of the Midrash. Super cool stuff. And yeah. Anyway, we'll be back with you guys with God's help on continuing the Midrash soon with God's help. Other than that, all right, you guys, peace.